You've done everything you've been told to do. He ate carrots. He took vitamins. He had his eyes checked and changed his glasses. And yet, when night comes, the street lights turn to blurred stars. The headlights of cars seem to blind you, and that confidence you had to go out after sunset gradually disappeared, without anyone explaining why. Well, my friends, today I'm going to explain. And I'll tell you one thing. What's missing for your eyes is no longer drugstore vitamins, it's not eye drops, and it's definitely not coming to terms with age. What is missing is a fruit, a single fruit which you have probably seen at the market that fits in the palm of your hand, but that almost no one eats in the right way, at the right time. And what this fruit does inside your body while you sleep is something so impressive that, when you understand, you will want to tell everyone that you care about your own vision. The problem of night vision doesn't start when you realize you can't see well at night. It starts much earlier, inside your eye, in a very thin layer called the retina. It is there that special cells live, the rods, which are responsible for seeing in the dark. But these rods depend on a type of ink, a pigment, which wears out over time. It's like the ink on a pen. The pen is still there, but the ink is running out, and your body, alone, cannot replace this ink as quickly as when you were 20. At 50, 60, 70, this replacement is much slower. And then you start to think that it's normal not to be able to drive at night, that it's normal to stumble on the way to the bathroom when you wake up at dawn, that it's normal to be afraid to leave the house after dark. But it's not normal. And I'm going to prove it to you now. I'm going to give you 2 certainties that you'll carry with you until the end of this video. First certainty. There is a nutrient coming from a fruit that can accelerate the replacement of this pigment from night vision in a way that no pill does. Second certainty. The way you eat this fruit, the time you choose and what you mix with it determine if you will have results in a few weeks or if you will continue to see worse and worse even if you eat the right fruit. These 2 certainties will keep hammering in your head until the end, because what I'm going to reveal in a little while changes the way you see your own body. Let me tell you something that maybe no one has told you in any consultation. The eyes are not isolated from the rest of the body. They depend on the blood, the intestine, the liver, sleep. And yet, every time someone complains about the vision, what happens? Measure the prescription of the glasses, and that's it. But the question that no one asks is, what is getting the nutrient to the retina? What's powering those rods? Because if the blood doesn't carry the right raw material, the factory inside the eye stops. And when the factory stops, there's no lens that solves it. Think about the dimension of this. Millions of people over the age of 50 are, at this very moment, thinking that blurry vision at night is just the price of having lived a long time. And it is not. It is the price of not having told them which food replenishes the pigment that the rods need. Now, watch this carefully. What I'm going to say now is the turning point of everything. There is a fruit that contains a substance that works as a natural recharger of this pigment. And this substance does not act during the day. It acts during the night while you sleep. And that's why the timing of eating the fruit matters so much. But calm down, I'll get there. First, let me introduce you to someone who sat in front of me and made me understand the size of this problem. Sue Antonio, 72 years old, retired truck driver. He arrived at the office with his wife, Donna Lucia, and the first thing he said was, "Doctor, I'm ashamed." "Shame on you, Mr. Antonio?" "Because I had to ask Lucia to drive on the way back from our son's house. I never needed anyone to direct. And that day, 7 in the evening, I looked at the track and everything was blurry. The headlights of the other cars blinded me. I broke out in a cold sweat." Think of a dimension of this. A man who has spent 40 years on the road, who has faced fog, rain, sawmills, and suddenly can no longer get behind the wheel at 7 in the evening. He had done everything they were told. An up-to-date eye exam, new glasses, food that he thought was good. But no one had explained to him that there was a specific nutrient which came from a fruit, and that he was not eating. And worse, the little he ate the wrong way, at the wrong time. This story is not only about Sue Antonio. This is your story. It's your sister's. It's your neighbor's. It's everyone's, who one day looked at the starry sky and realized that the stars were less clear than before. Let's pause here. Not just any pause. A break for us to reconnect with what really matters. Have you ever stopped to think about how many simple things in life depend on your night vision? Read the name of the medicine on the package when you wake up at dawn. Seeing his grandson's face at a birthday party that went into the night. Walk to the gate without fear of misstepping. Find the switch in the dark. All of this is life. And when these little things start to fail, we shrink, we withdraw, we say no to invitations, no to outings, no to our own independence. And no one talks about it in the 15-minute consultation. Nobody looks you in the eye and says, there is a way to slow this down. There is a food that science has known for decades, but that is not on the flashy shelves of the pharmacy. It is at the market, at the greengrocer, in the grocery store. And now I'm going to show you what this fruit is, why it works, and the mistake that almost everyone makes that completely nullifies the benefit it could bring. The fruit is small, dark, kind of bluish, and its name is blueberry. Depending on the region, you may know it as blueberry. But before you think this is a fad or an invention of the internet, follow me for a moment. Inside the blueberry there are substances called anthocyanins, which are responsible for giving it that dark blue, almost purple color. But these substances, when they enter your body, are not only used to color the fruit, they travel through your blood and have an impressive affinity for the cells in your eyes. It's as if they had a map that says, go to the retina, go to the rods. And when they get there, they do something that looks like something from a movie. They help recharge the pigment I talked about at the beginning, the so-called pen ink. This pigment is called rhodopsin, but you don't have to keep that name. You can call it visual purple, which is what ancient doctors called it. And it is this purple that captures the dim light, that allows you to distinguish shapes in the dark, that gives you the security to cross a dimly lit room. Now pay attention to this detail that changes everything. Rhodopsin wears out when you use your vision in a bright environment. During the day, it is broken, and it needs to be rebuilt overnight. That's why sleep is so important for vision. But sleep is not enough. It is necessary to have raw material circulating in the blood while you sleep for reconstruction to happen. And that's exactly where blueberries come in. If you eat the fruit during the day, anthocyanins will circulate, yes, but their peak in the blood will happen when the body is not yet in repair mode. Now, if you eat the fruit about an hour before bed, anthocyanins reach a good level in your blood right at the time when your eye's repair factory is turned on, during deep sleep. This is not guesswork. It is pure physiology, explained by serious research that associates nighttime blueberry consumption with significant improvement in contrast sensitivity and dark adaptation in people over 50. So, the first mistake that cancels out the benefit is simple. Most people who have heard that blueberries are good for their vision eat it in the morning, for breakfast, along with yogurt, and think it's killing it. But it is not. It is throwing away the golden window of night repair. And look how interesting. It's not just the time that matters. The temperature of the fruit also makes a difference. When you eat the cold blueberry straight from the fridge, the stomach takes longer to process, and the release of anthocyanins into the blood is delayed. The ideal is to take the fruit out of the refrigerator about 20 minutes before eating, let it come to room temperature, so that the body absorbs it more quickly and efficiently. This seems like a detail, but details save lives. Details make the difference between someone who eats the fruit and feels the result and someone who eats the fruit and continues to see poorly. And I want you to feel like you're in control of those details. That's not all. There is a second, perhaps even more common mistake. People eat the fruit mixed with sugar, in jellies, in syrups, in desserts. But refined sugar, my friends, is a silent enemy of the vision. When you eat too much sugar, especially at night, blood glucose levels rise fast, and this causes a process called glycation. Glycation is like a hardening of the body's fibers, and in the retina, which is very thin and delicate, glycation damages the blood vessels and nerve cells. So, you may be eating the right blueberry at the right time, but if it's drowned in sugar, you're effectively negating the good it would do. The fruit should be eaten in natura, or at most beaten with a little water, without any sugar. And if you need to sweeten it, use a stevia leaf, but avoid white sugar, excessive honey, corn syrup that comes in industrialized products. Now let me tell you a story that will make you think. Donna Vilma, 68 years old, retired teacher. She came to me and said, "Doctor, I eat fruit every day. I eat salad. I eat fish. But my vision at night is getting worse and worse." Then I asked, "What fruit do you eat?" And she answered, "Banana, apple, papaya, and sometimes orange." And I said, "Have you ever eaten blueberries?" She made a face of someone she had never heard of, and then I explained what I'm explaining here. She started eating a handful of fresh blueberries, about half a cup an hour before bed. No sugar, no mixing with anything else. 3 weeks later, she came back and said, "Doctor, I'm able to read the letters on the remote control in the dark." A simple thing, but for her it meant the world, because the remote control in the dark was the password that her visual purple was coming back. And that was not a miracle. It was biochemistry. It was raw material arriving at the right time at the right place. But Donna Vilma taught me something else, without knowing it. She told me that in the beginning she felt a certain resistance to eating fruit at night because she had heard all her life that fruit at night makes you fat, that fruit ferments in the stomach, that it is bad. This is a myth that sabotaged the health of many people. Fruit does not make you fat at night if you choose the right fruit and in the right amount. Blueberries have a low glycemic index. That is, they do not cause that blood sugar spike that sweeter fruits cause. So, you can eat at night without fear. In fact, you should eat at night. That is precisely the secret, and what ferments in the stomach is the excess of mixed food, the wrong combination, not the isolated fruit. If you eat blueberries on their own, an hour before bedtime, they digest quickly and do not disrupt sleep. On the contrary, it helps the body to enter repair mode. Here in the middle of the road, I want to ask you for a kindness. If you are enjoying what you are hearing, if you are understanding that this type of information does not appear anywhere, leave your like, subscribe to this channel, and write your city or country below in the comments. I read each one, and knowing where you hear me from helps me keep bringing you that kind of content. And tell me something. Have you ever heard that the time you eat the fruit makes a difference? Comment there. This exchange is important because here we form a community of people who are taking control of their own health, without depending on fads, without surrendering to empty promises. Let's move on to an even more surprising revelation. What I'm going to say now is perhaps the missing piece of the puzzle. It's no use just eating the fruit and avoiding sugar. If your gut isn't working well, if your gut flora is depleted, you may be eating blueberries and absorbing almost nothing. That's right. The anthocyanins in blueberries need to be broken down by good bacteria that live in your gut. These bacteria transform anthocyanins into smaller compounds, which then cross the wall of the intestine and fall into the bloodstream. If your intestinal flora is detonated by years of antibiotics, a diet low in fiber, an excess of industrialized products, you eat the fruit and it passes right away. It's no use. So, the third mistake that cancels out the benefit is ignoring gut health. And the solution to this is simpler than it seems. Associate blueberry consumption with foods that feed these good bacteria. Fermented foods, such as unsweetened natural yogurt, kefir, kombucha, or even fibers, such as chia and flaxseed, which you can put together with the fruit. This creates a favorable gut environment, and the absorption of anthocyanins increases impressively. Think about the dimension of this. Your body is an interconnected network. What happens in the gut echoes in the eyes. What happens in the liver echoes in the eyes. What happens in the brain echoes in the eyes. And conventional medicine often treats the eyes as if they were two glass balls detached from the rest. They are not. And when you understand this, you stop looking for magic eye drops and start looking at the plate. And speaking of intestines, let me tell you the case of Osvaldo, 65 years old, a retired banker. He took antibiotics because of a urinary tract infection, and after that, his intestine was never the same. He lived with a loose belly, gas, discomfort. And his night vision was getting worse in a way that he didn't understand. He ate well, ate fruit, but saw no result. When I explained to him about the intestinal flora and the absorption of anthocyanins, he started taking kefir every day, along with the blueberry at night. Within a month, his bowel was already more regulated, and surprisingly, his night vision began to show signs of improvement. He told me, "Doctor, I thought the eye was one thing and the intestine another, but now I understand that it's all the same body." This phrase of his stuck in my head, because that's exactly it. We were taught to divide the body into parts, as if they were separate drawers. But the body is an entire house, and what enters through the kitchen door ends up in the bedroom, in the living room, in the garden. Let's go to the fourth revelation. There is another food that works in tandem with blueberries, enhancing the effect, and almost no one talks about it. That food is the good fat. Yes, fat. Anthocyanins are water-soluble, but their absorption improves when there is a small amount of healthy fat in the meal. This happens because bile, which is released to digest fats, helps to emulsify everything and facilitates the passage of nutrients into the blood. So, if you eat the blueberry along with some nuts, or with a drizzle of olive oil, or with a little piece of avocado, you are creating the perfect combo. Again, the common mistake. People who go on a very low-fat diet, especially at night, may be sabotaging their own vision. The body needs good fat. Precise. I'm not talking about frying. I'm talking about olive oil, nuts, fish, avocados. These fats are partners of night vision. And here is a detail that many people don't know. The retina is rich in a type of fat called DHA, which comes from omega-3. This fat is part of the structure of the rods. If your diet is low in omega-3, the rods become less flexible, less sensitive to dim light. So the blueberry comes in with the anthocyanins, but the good fats come in with the building material. It's a perfect partnership. Fish such as sardines, salmon, tuna, and seeds such as chia and flaxseed are important sources of this omega-3. If you can include a little bit of these foods in your routine, blueberries will have even more results. Mr. Carlos, 75 years old, former carpenter. He told me that for about 2 years he could no longer see his dog in the backyard when it was dark. The dog, a black mutt, disappeared into the darkness. He would stumble, get nervous, and end up trapping the dog inside the house at night. He started eating blueberries with a handful of nuts an hour before bed. After a month, he told me that he was in the backyard at night and suddenly saw the figure of the dog passing by. He said, "Doctor," I cried. I cried because I thought I would never see my dog again at night. This is quality of life. It is autonomy. It's the difference between feeling old and feeling capable. Now, fifth revelation, and this is one of the heaviest. There are foods that you probably consider healthy, but that are silently impairing your night vision. The first of these is the excess of refined carbohydrates at night. White bread, pasta, white rice in large quantities, cream cracker cookies, toast. These foods turn into blood sugar quickly, and then what I already said happens, glycation. But there's more. The insulin spike that comes after a meal rich in refined carbohydrates disrupts the action of a hormone called melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. If melatonin doesn't go up right, sleep gets poor. And if sleep gets poor, the regeneration of visual purple is impaired. So even if you eat the blueberry, if you had a silver of pasta beforehand, the effect will be much smaller. The second traitor is coffee after 4 in the afternoon. Caffeine disrupts deep sleep, and deep sleep is precisely the time when the retina regenerates. Third traitor, alcoholic drink at night. Alcohol dehydrates the body, and the retina is a tissue that depends on hydration to function well. In addition, alcohol robs you of B vitamins, which are essential for the health of the optic nerves. So, that glass of wine that you drink thinking it's good for your heart may be, at the same time, damaging your night vision. I'm not saying never drink wine again. I'm saying that if your priority right now is to regain night vision, you need to review these habits. There is one more traitor, and this one will surprise many people. The artificial sweetener. People swap sugar for sweetener thinking they're doing the right thing, and they do reduce calories. But some artificial sweeteners, especially aspartame and sucralose, in excess, can alter the gut flora, killing the very good bacteria that help absorb anthocyanins. In addition, studies suggest that these sweeteners can increase insulin resistance, which indirectly worsens glycation and the health of retinal spider veins. So, what was supposed to be an ally becomes another saboteur. If you need to sweeten something, prefer stevia, which is natural, or erythritol, which has a much smaller impact on the body. This is all connected, which is why the 15-minute consultation is never able to explain, because the system treats the symptom. If you see poorly, you change your glasses. If the eye pressure rises, eye drops. But no one asks you what you had for dinner. No one asks you what time you ate the fruit. No one explains to you that your gut is the first eye of the body. And the industry loves it. It loves that you buy the eye drops, that you change lenses every year, that you accept degeneration as inevitable. Because an informed patient is a patient who consumes fewer products and more food, and this does not interest those who profit from the disease. Sixth revelation, and this is surprising even to many medical colleagues, blueberries do not act alone. It has a sister fruit which further enhances the effect. That fruit is jabuticaba. Yes, our Brazilian jabuticaba, which is very rich in anthocyanins and other compounds that protect blood vessels. Jabuticaba, especially the peel, has a concentration of antioxidants that rivals blueberries. And the advantage is that it is from our land, it is cheaper in many regions, and it is absurdly powerful. If you intersperse blueberries with jabuticaba, or even mix the two, you're giving your body a full arsenal of pigments that go straight to the retina. But here, again, there is the common mistake. Most people suck on jabuticaba and spit out the bark. And it is in the peel that the highest concentration of anthocyanins is found. So if you spit out the shell, you're throwing away the gold. The ideal is to chew the whole fruit, peel and all, or beat it in a blender and consume the pulp along with the peel. And here is a story that marked me a lot. Dona Nosa, 81 years old, widow, lives alone. She has a jabuticaba tree in her backyard, planted by her late husband 40 years ago. She always sucked jabuticaba, but always spitting out the bark. When I explained that the peel was the richest part, she was silent for a few seconds and then said, "So I threw away the health that my husband planted for me." She started to blend the whole jabuticaba in a blender and have a glass before bed. Within 2 months, she told me that she returned to embroidering at night. Embroider, 81 years old. This is not a promise of a cure, it is clinical observation. That's what happens when you give the body the raw material it was asking for. And look how curious. Jabuticaba has an advantage over blueberries in one aspect. It contains a special fiber, pectin, which helps regulate the intestine in an even gentler way than other fibers. So while the peel offers the anthocyanins, the pulp offers the pectin, which feeds the good bacteria. It's a complete package. If you have easy access to jabuticaba in your region, use it and abuse it. But remember, unsweetened, at night, and preferably with a small source of good fat, such as 3 or 4 Brazil nuts. 7th revelation, and this one closes the cycle with a golden key. The blue light from screens, television, cell phones, tablets, is destroying your visual purple faster than normal. Blue light has a frequency that excites the rods too much, and this accelerates the use of pigment. If you stay up late watching television or checking your cell phone, and then go to sleep without giving your eyes time to recover, you're literally burning the paint faster than it can be replaced. Then you eat the blueberry, but the damage is so great that the fruit alone can't handle it. So, a simple and powerful measure. At least an hour before bedtime, dim the lights in the house, avoid screens, use a yellowish lampshade. This gives the rods a break and allows pigment replacement to happen more efficiently. And there is a detail that I need to add here. Blue light is not only on screens. It is in the white LED lamps, the ones we put in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the laundry area. If your home is filled with white light at night, your eyes are being bombarded all the time. Changing for yellow light bulbs, especially in the environments you use in the 2 hours before bed, makes a difference that you can't imagine. This reduces visual purple burning and allows nighttime regeneration to be more complete. 8th revelation. And this is about a habit that many elderly people have and that they find harmless. Getting up to go to the bathroom at dawn with bright light. When you turn on that white light in the middle of the night, your eyes get a shock. The rods, which were adapted to the dark, receive that bath of light, and the visual purple is worn away at once. Afterwards, you go back to bed, but the regeneration has already stopped. The ideal is to have a very weak nightlight, preferably amber, on the way to the bathroom. This preserves the dark adaptation and doesn't ruin the job the blueberry is doing. 9th revelation. Hydration. The retina is a tissue that needs water. If you are dehydrated, the eye becomes drier, and the surface of the cornea loses transparency. But that's not all. The circulation of blood in the retina slows down when the blood is more viscous due to lack of water. This means that anthocyanins and nutrients take longer to reach the rods. Drinking water throughout the day is essential, but with one caveat: there is no point in drinking a liter of water at once. The body eliminates excess quickly. The ideal is to drink small sips throughout the day and reduce fluid intake an hour before bedtime, so as not to disturb sleep with trips to the bathroom. A well-hydrated body is a body that transports nutrients efficiently. 10th revelation. Vitamin A. Blueberries do not contain vitamin A directly, but anthocyanins work synergistically with it. Vitamin A is the basic raw material for the production of visual purple. If you don't have enough vitamin A, anthocyanins have nothing to work with. It is like having the worker, but not having the brick. Foods rich in vitamin A are liver, egg yolks, butter, whole milk, and orange vegetables like carrots and pumpkin, which contain beta-carotene, which the body turns into vitamin A. So, if your dinner includes some pumpkin cooked with a drizzle of olive oil, and then, an hour before bed, you eat the blueberry, you're giving the brick and the operator. The result is much more powerful. 11th revelation. Stress. That's right. Chronic stress increases cortisol, a hormone that, in excess, inflames the body and reduces circulation in thinner vessels, such as those in the retina. People who live in stress have more difficulty regenerating visual purple, and there's no point in eating blueberries if cortisol is through the roof. So, simple relaxation practices before bed, such as deep breathing, listening to calm music, drinking chamomile or lemon balm tea, can enhance the effect of the fruit, because the body goes into repair mode when it understands that it is safe. If he thinks he is in danger, he does not notice anything. He only prepares to flee or fight. It's ancestral. It's primitive. But it still works that way. 12th revelation. And this one is about movement. Blood circulation in the retina depends on good overall circulation. Sedentary people have the slowest blood flow. Walking, even 20 minutes a day, improves the arrival of nutrients to the eyes. It doesn't have to be anything strenuous. A light walk in the early evening, before dinner, already makes a difference. But beware. Walking at night in poorly lit places can be dangerous if your night vision is already bad. Prefer to walk in daylight or in well-lit and safe places. I want you to imagine now what happens inside your eye while you sleep. It's night. The house is silent. And inside your retina, millions of small factories are working. The anthocyanins that came from blueberries and jaboticaba are arriving through the blood, entering the cells, and coupling together like pieces of a puzzle. Visual purple is being reconstructed, rod by rod, minute by minute, and you don't feel anything. It doesn't burn, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't itch. It is a silent, deep work which only nature knows how to do. And when the day dawns, you open your eyes, and the first light of the morning does not attack you. And when night comes again, you realize that the shadows have contours, that the details have returned, that you see the dog in the backyard, that you read the name of the medicine in the dim light, that you drive without fear. And there's one more thing I've learned in decades in the office. Night vision is not just about the eyes. It's about the soul. It's about the courage to leave home. It's about the joy of watching the sunset and continuing to see the colors of the sky change, even when the light is already dim. It's about the dignity of not depending on anyone to cross the room. It's about the freedom to be able to choose. When you lose night vision, you lose a chunk of your autonomy, and recovering this is not vanity. It is a human need. It is the right to continue participating in life. Now, I'm going to ask for something that is not for me. It's for the people you love. Share this video. Not as someone who shares any curiosity. Share it as if reaching out to someone who is afraid of losing their independence. Share it with that friend of yours who said he doesn't drive at night anymore. Share it with your sister who stumbles in the dark hallway. Share it with your father, with your mother, with your grandfather. Because this information will not reach them through the system. The system has no time. The system makes no profit from it. But you have the power to carry that message. And in doing so, you're saying, I care about you. I want you to keep seeing the sunset. Keep seeing the grandchildren smile at the birthday party. Keep being the owner of your own life. And if you've made it this far, you're the kind of person who doesn't give up. That seeks to understand. That he does not accept the first answer. You are the kind of person who knows that the human body is wise, that nature offers tools, and that knowledge is the true key to autonomy. Keep cultivating that flame. Keep searching. Keep sharing. Because a community of informed people is a stronger, healthier,